Hey, I'm Brant Bjork, desert rock musician. I've been making stoner records since 1991. When I'm not making my own music, one of my favorite things to do is relax and listen to old vinyl records.
My name is Ryan Goot. I've been smoking weed as long as I can remember and playing music just as long. We're here to check out old records, really good weed, and see what comes together to make the best of both worlds.
This is my home, this is my studio, this is my zone, and this is Records and Reefer. Hey, this is Brant Bjork.
And I'm Ryan Goot.
This is Records and Reefer, where we're smoking classic records,
Rockin' fresh joints. All right, Brant, what are we listening to this week, man?
Well, Goot, this week we're going to be listening to Funkadelic's 1970 debut. One of my faves. I know it's one of your faves.
We rocked that quite a bit on the last European run. We were listening to it solid.
Yeah.
Along with a few other records, but
it's a perfect record to play before you get ready to go on stage and do your thing. It gets you in that right zone. And speaking of correct zones, what weed are we going to smoke this week?
Dude, this week we are smoking some do-si-do.
Do-si-do.
Do-si-dose. I believe do.
We're going to
The
take
S is silent.
We're going to take a dose of the
do-si-do.
a dose of the do-si-do. That sounds good, and I'm sure it tastes good and feels good, and it looks good. And
it's a rad strain. It's an indica-dominant kind of offspring of cookies, or I can't say that anymore. The GSC.
Okay.
And
yeah. And why can't you say that anymore?
Well, we can't say that anymore because these organizations and brand names that have more of a, I would say, mainstream following. They don't want their name associated with cannabis, and out of respect, I would imagine that we'd all just say GSC. But cookies was the name. Platinum cookies, mint cookies. There's a lot of cookies that came out of this. It's a cross between the Mythical, legendary OG Kush and the Durban Poison, sativa. So yeah, it's a rad strain, really tasty, and it should get our head right.
Mythical and legendary, those are two very cool words.
One can be mythical and legendary.
Yeah. This record is mythical and legendary.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a nice combo burrito. This is gonna be good.
Right on. I'm looking forward.
This here record came out in 1970. It was actually recorded in 68, 69, but finally got released in 1970. In the late 60s, George started to get excited about acid rock, the British stuff, specifically like Cream and the Beatles and Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was so excited that he wanted to kind of tap into that. So he got his backing band from the Parliaments and gave them a new name and a new sound and a new direction, and put out their first record called the band Funkadelic. So it's basically Parliament. But Funkadelic kind of never took off. It was kind of a hard sell at that time. It was too rock for the black audience, and it was too funky for the white audience. So he was kind of missing on both fronts. He's way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But he's still, so Funkadelic, once he realized, like any genius at some point probably getting frustrated, like, man, I've got a really great thing here, but people they're not hip yet. Yeah. I love Funkadelic, one of my favorite bands, and this record is one of those records that I put on, and I'm just transported to a better place.
Yeah.
and it's lyrics are just rooted in awareness and consciousness and the groove. I mean, you can go on and on about serious grooves, real grooves. And coming from a bunch of brothers from Detroit in 1970, that's good stuff.
Man, talking about positivity, I'll get started on twisting up some do-si-do. Do you want to, is the record feels like it's right here.
Let's get this going.
All right.
Should I push start or stop?
Probably stop.
Time to stop fucking around.
Yeah.
That first one, man. The first one is like, it's that moment when a band is fresh and they're coming out saying like, we need to make sure motherfuckers understand some very basic things real quick. It's got layers, and the first layer of the record isn't asking too much of you. Right. The first layer is like, dude, this is what we do. Yeah. I have this own kind of belief or idea that funk music, it's totally lots of groove, of course, but there's also a tension that I seem to hear, I hear and I feel in a lot of black music, American black music, and certainly in funk, but even like in R&B and stuff. There's a tension, even jazz for sure, where it's like they're tense, man, you know, and so I think, you know, that's part of the fire of these grooves, you know, and like a lot of jazz dudes, you know, ran to heroin to kind of try and alleviate that tension from being in a country where you were black, you were that's tough. It's still, that's a tough thing. And so, you know, I always joke like, well, of course the Stones are one of the best loose grooving bands of all time, man. You know, they're these British dudes from London, man, you know, from England, you know. But James Brown, I mean, that dude, that's why that music sounds that way. That dude's got eyes in the back of his head, and he knows what's going on around him at all times. And Funkadelic, I mean, they're clearly getting into drugs. You know, they're tapping in. You know, they're like, whoa. You know, I've read some stuff about. George was like, what's this acid shit, man? And smoking grass, of course. But really getting hit to the acid too. They're trying to deal with their tension, you know, and I think Funkadelic that's what they're doing. They're massaging their tension, and that's the sound that we hear. It's not quite as tense as James Brown. It's like they're getting a little more relaxed, you know. Cause I'm a bad fucking motherfucker on the martini.
Every time,
dude. I used to do like what I would refer to as, I used to do like desert dry, which is like pretty much no vermouth, and just a little bit of dirt, Nice ice. I'm gonna chill the glasses. I'm generous with the ice because you know what? I just don't give a fuck. I like Bombay Sapphire. There's a lot of gin out there.
What is it about that Bombay?
Well, it's not
too spicy.
It's not too up and it's not too down. It's not too good and it's not too bad. It's somewhere right in the middle. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. It works for me. I love getting stoned and making myself and especially others a martini. A little about like that. About that. I mean, now that's good. That's a good amount. You want to do too much, but you don't want to do too little too. The dirt, there's just a feel to the dirt, man. If it's too dirty, then it dominates, and then it's just you're just drinking a salty mess, and it's just like, you know, you're sweating, and it's a total drag. Martini purists, or just cocktail purists. A lot of fancy bartenders at fancy joints, they'd tell you, hey, you don't want to bruise the gin. Stir it just a couple of times. Give it only a couple shakes. I don't bruise the gin. I kick the shit out of the gin. Last time I took acid, I shook up martinis in the nude while I was on acid, and recorded the situation. I'll have to break that out sometime. Sometimes the towel sticks. I like that when it sticks. Put my little olive at the bottom there. See that dude? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna give Goot the big tall one. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Hello. That's a Brantini.
Ah!
That's
Wow. You've had a lot of time to work on it.
It's a good buzz, man. You know, and you know, especially when I'm alone, and people say never drink alone. I drink alone all the time.
Yeah, right.
You know, I like to have a martini and a joint and listen to a record. And you know, martinis, you got to take your time.
Yeah.
Records, you got to take your time. Joints, you got to take your time. You know, it's like I love smoking bongs, but it's like there's no ritual involved that demands attention and a length of time. I like to span time, and that's what I love about listening to a record. You know, I want to span time, dude. A vinyl's like you put the needle down and you gotta like commit. This book here, I got this book years ago, and actually I got arrested at crossing the border into Norway while reading this book because I had a joint in my front pocket. And but this book is called Cannabis by Martin Booth. I believe he's British, like a lot of great writers. And this is a great book about the history of cannabis. And it's really, I mean, it goes without saying that marijuana is important, you know? It's important.
It's gonna save the world.
It's gonna save the world, dude.
And that,
Yeah.
it really is. It really
And
is.
I think music is going to be playing while marijuana is saving the world. You ever trip out on how, like, in the 60s and 70s, you ever trip out on how many people were smoking grass and were stoned? I mean, I always trip out on that, man, you know, because it's like when you went and saw Led Zeppelin in 1972, everybody was stoned. Everybody.
What happened? How did it go from?
You know, when back in the early 90s, when Caius was starting to come up, and we smoked, we were stoners, and that became like our manager was like, this should be part of your trip. You should promote that you smoke weed. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
A joint wrapped in toilet paper. Rolled in toilet paper.
Yeah. I don't know.
In your cornflakes. That's pretty fucking good.
I mean, if you'd have told me 20 years ago that I could walk out my front door, have a delivery service, bring me weed,
Good weed.
great weed,
Great weed.
multiple options,
Full menu.
and dude,
Full menu.
and I could pay with a fucking credit card or a debit card, plastic, and then I even sign with my motherfucking finger. If you'd have told me 20 years ago that I'd be doing that, bro, that's some Star Trek shit. Is it over?
It's over.
God, see?
Goes faster than you think.
See how things just stop?
Stop fucking around.
Yeah, we push stop. Stop fucking around. I listen to certain records even in certain seasons. You know, like I've got summer records, I've got winter records. Like that's the way I approach music. So that's how I came up with this concept, because I was like, man, if I have my buzz on, if I got a certain buzz, I look for the record that I think's gonna totally jive with my buzz.
I've been around weed for my entire life. I've seen it grown. I've seen it bred. Let's go check out, or fuck, I don't even need to say that.
Drink a martini and smoke a joint. I'm gonna be in that place where talking about this and sharing it is gonna be authentic and make sense. And after the first martini, I just take a couple puffs on a joint, get ready for that second martini, and then after that second martini, I'll take a couple more puffs of a joint. I'm ready for the rest of the evening and night and just go to bed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like a historical classic ritual. We smoke joints and we listen to old records. And you're the weed expert and I find the old records. I mean, it's perfect. I'm not the most social guy and I'm definitely not really stoked on being filmed.